it's not the objective, but she wants them off and redone. So, and it works perfectly. I mean, given the circumstances, of course. A garage, literally, and it's really like, I just wanted it to play as a kind of a background to what I was doing, and nobody ever thought, or at least was able to, tricycle that could basically replicate the principle or some crazy, innovator who wanted to change. It hooked me immediately and I stopped doing everything I was doing completely randomly. Hi everyone. Welcome to this video. In which I'm opening her old braids once again. I feel like her standard of braids is very straight. Me, I always feel sorry removing them, but I feel like they're still very much okay. But she wants them off and redone, so that's what we're doing. I hope you guys doing well lately. You are not allowing the circumstances of this world get to you. You stay strong and firm in your shelter of good vibes and carefreeness as you relax here with us. Okay, a thought of what I might talk crossed my mind, so hopefully it will be entertaining for you guys. So like 2 days ago, I watched a documentary movie completely randomly. I just clicked on it and I just wanted it to play as a kind of a background to what I was doing, but it hooked me immediately and I stopped doing everything I was doing. And I just watched. And it was in 4 episodes and I watched them all that night. I went to sleep like very late. And basically it was about history of cars. You might think that the inventor of car was some crude businessman or some crazy, innovator who wanted to change the world. But the truth is more simple. It was just a guy who was trying to make in his garage a tricycle that could basically replicate the principle of a train. They already had trains, steam trains in that era, but the thing was that the engine was so huge and nobody ever thought, or at least was able to get engine as small as to fit tricycle. So this guy it was his wife who was forcing him that it's a great innovation that he should go sell it. By the way, the name of the guy is nobody else than Mr. Benz in Germany. Well, and he really didn't think that it's such a big deal, that it could be perfected much more better. He wanted, much more better product. If anything, if to sell it, it should be better than just that. It was just for him. And she decided, according to the documentary movie, to kind of take it without his knowledge, without his consent. And she took it and she drove it to Paris, where it was a kind of an innovation festival, I think. And there were all kind of things, lift and new models of things that were known already to the world. And she brought this and she drove it there, and she even I think notified all kind of newspapers that she drove from the point where she drove from to Paris. And orders started to come in, and investors and so on, and the rest is a history. And I found this story so there's so many aspects of life within this story. The first thing is that people who are trying to change the world are not actually the people who change the world so much. He never intended to change the world, and he did it so effortlessly. It was just side byproduct of his doing, he never intended to change the world. Sometimes when your motive is just simply solving a problem instead of focusing on cash and cash, that's how the money can come, It's really a byproduct of things. It's not the objective. So yeah, that definitely was very inspiring. I was like, wow. And then of course the documentary continued about other companies joining the industry, right, immediately. And that's another aspect that I was finding very amazing. How differently each company, each competitor approached the new market. You had companies, for example, like Rolls-Royce, who tried to bring a lot of speed and comfort at that time. Then you had Bentley, who was focusing more on the engineering, and they came up with a kind of a light piston that allowed the engine to spin faster, you could rev it more. Or there was a Porsche, and he was really into making vehicles for people, making it affordable, because at the time it was only for the rich. So he was really into the idea of making it affordable, which was very hard at that time, but he found a way of making all the components, only the components for the engine necessary, which he made by making air-cooled engine. And that removed the coolant, the radiator, because it was air-cooled, and now suddenly the engine got smaller and it could fit much smaller chassis than the previous cars. And actually Porsche's story is also saw it very interesting, to be honest. Like, just from a simply observer point, you know. Like, he wanted to make these cars, right? But nobody wanted to invest in him because nobody wanted to, you know, sell mass production of cars at the time. He wanted to be like a Ford, but in Europe they were like, he just didn't find the support. And then a certain dictator came to power, right, in Germany, and he wanted the people's car, which you might know today as a Volkswagen. And these two really met at the time, and he started productioning the Volkswagen Beetle. And then after the war he was like mistreated because he was collaborating, right? So the Allies really couldn't let go of the fact that he was collaborating. So he had some hard times, I guess. And then once he was released, he found that his son was continuing in his work. And he made Porsche 911. Oh, he made Porsche. I don't know the number, the series line. But basically the foundation for 911 that we know today. And this is just, you know, a little stories, but it's crazy that you think these companies today, when you look at them, you just see a giant, you know, corporate, massive brand. But, you know, when my grandfather was a young kid, these companies were just a garage, literally. And it's really like, it's crazy. Or another story that was very interesting was of the Honda brand. You know, after Japan's defeat, they really had like embargo of petrol because they didn't want to like basically fuel literally any kind of a resistance, I guess. So people really had to carry everything on bicycles and so on. And here comes Honda, you know, and he's like, I wish we could just make more things like effortlessly. We don't have to, you know, sweat so much since there's embargo on petrol. He was thinking he will add an engine on the bicycle that will be powered by ethanol, which is another kind of a liquid that burns, but it's not petrol, and that was legal at that time. So he really like pushed it hard with these bikes. He was making prototypes, and basically same story, almost like with bands. He just wanted, you know, easier life. And he met with some kind of investor, you know. I'm really like making the stories very simple. And he became the monopoly basically on motorbikes and scooters. He really brought this concept to life in Japan, and he wanted to get in cars so much. I think he was actually rejected by Toyota earlier, if I remember correctly, but he really wanted to do cars. And that's what he ended up doing. Like when the Toyota and imports started coming into America and trying to take the share of the market, you know, the market responded to it by bringing emissions, making it a little bit harder for the imports. And I think it was Ford or GM that made a kind of a patent on how to make the emissions lower, and they would license other companies, but not Honda. They said just do your motorbikes and don't bother us, you're not even competition. And basically he ordered the car to Japan and reinvented it. Basically he checked what they've done and he did it. So really this was so many different characters and approaches. Some were really unstoppable people who knew what they wanted, and you don't really know if they wanted it for the money or for the invention or because they just wanted to and they didn't even know why themselves. And some just effortlessly worked on solving their own problem and changed the world. And some just wanted something good for people, like the Porsche, right? But actually ended up parting with the worst dictator. It's just crazy how the life can just throw things at you and how people handle them. And we really shouldn't judge anybody, because at the end of the day that person is probably trying to help other people in some sense. At least that's how he perceives it. So yeah, that was really so well done documentary movie. I loved it. I was so happy after I watched it. I was like, wow, there was so many insights. So many insights. Actually, the name Braids was the founder's name, but then actually in Germany, after the stock market crash in America, and after the war, the economy really wasn't good, and there was other guy who was making cars. I don't know what the name is right now, but I think Porsche was working for that company at the time, and that's where he was not hurt, for the people's car. And after the crisis, or during the crisis basically, they merged with Benz, and he said, let's make a car after my daughter's name, which the daughter's name was Mercedes. So that's how it became Mercedes-Benz. Today you wouldn't even think that Mercedes and Benz are named, you just imagine the car immediately. You don't imagine anything else. I don't know if people still name their children Mercedes. It's a nice name. So definitely UK, Germany, US and Japan and Italy, of course, with their Ferraris, but there wasn't much said about the Italian brands in that documentary. It was mostly Germany, America and Japan and UK. The UK really invested, I would say, in the automobiles industry because of the engines, and they wanted to get the engine on the airplane, which Rolls-Royce does engines for airplanes a lot, which might not be so known, but Rolls-Royce does airplane engines. They wanted, that was a first time in the human history an engine was used for war consumption. Combustion engine was used. They wanted to put it on anything they could, airplane, cars, vehicles. Ships. How many people do websites, and things just blew out of proportions. And I think if you ask him how did that happen, he will not even be able to answer. He just say, I don't know what happened. So crazy. Behind all these big companies, there's just a person who actually had to persist so much resistance of fate. I would say mostly like very big fighters. They just didn't take no for answer. But it started with simple curiosity, you know. He was trying to solve, you know, like when he was starting, right? When you have big steam train, like it's much easier because that engine is solid. It can take the heat. It can take the horsepower that is needed to tow actually a vehicle, right? But the tiny engine that he encountered so many issues. We can't even imagine these days anymore. Like he couldn't. It was overheating. It was not effective. Like it was burning oil, but not the way he wanted it. So he came with this idea of injecting it, like a perfume. You know, the old perfumes. They would just kind of press the body, and it would spray the perfume. And he thought that that would be really better for the mixture in the engine than just if it pours in. So really they were like inventing it step by step, and what we call today car, they were literally creating. That's really like the beauty of it. They all, one guy started it, but they all kind of shaped it. They all contributed, yeah, that's the word. I don't think that the Benz would himself alone get so far if the competition wasn't there, because